Hello, Lost Legion. Hear your name. Return. I was just watching. Talk about what unabridged means. Unabridged. We talk about how our agencies recorded criminally influenced, incapable of defending their nature, their fact treatment justifications, and evidence crime roles in relationship to morality, fact treatment justifications that need to hide lies, delusions, and premises offensively. And how this was, I just watched a video about, it was titled, How Islam Got Started. Excuse me. How Islam Got Started. It said that it got started in relationship to differences with the ruling families. That's a physical delusion. That's ulterior from what it got started in relationship to. It got started in relationship to truth that was being denied by fact treatment natures in relationship to criminally re-engineered ancient campus internation sciences and human value nature system. So people weren't honest. They were standing criminal insidiousness nature as victim predators. But now as all for overt predators, modern nations justifying war in relationship to left sick means, value nature systems, narratives with justifications of that recorded criminal influence tied to database evidence as crimes, tied to crimes interscience with what evolution is. Ratiocination understands that there's one cause for positive value nature progressions, evolution, and there's one cause for negative value nature progressions, de-evolution, which is a nature that is unto itself one way positive and one way negative, at the same time, with the relationship between that being the semi-nature relationship to a complete nature of integrity that doesn't fit in immediate space nature, in temporary space nature, but one way, inherently actively and progressively. And the active phase is being sabotaged by only realized roles with interscience, naive fact treatment nature justifications. And justifications of that can't simultaneously defend us from a nature of criminal insidiousness that is fluent through nations. This is why the first part of the Quran warns about Muslims who say and believe they are Muslims always. They say they can't defend it because they're putting physics first. Physical delusions. This is a clear body of value as the active radical of correlation, not led by sciences, pretending to know about the algorithm, as lie, progression, cover-up, nature, roles being cultivated, because then they're going to defend that. And defenses of that are not only dishonest, but layered per what is keeping its door open with the crazy tactics beyond just like against black. And this is also, so we have fact treatment natures who can't heal that because there's no sophistication of language without clear bodies value, without correlations value realized. There's no in other words, the people who are giving opinions with the media and with the network's art and with investments of art, they're keeping all natures of industry as fact-treating nature rolls to what is right through it. They have recorded ill line progression cover-up uses of the white hate groups that are directed theater for the fact treatment nature rackets, and really even more serious, more evil with the vigils, relationship to the relationship of standing nature of criminal insidiousness, with and as the natures of criminal justice with our campuses, internation criminally influenced originally progressed, with roles with a racket against each age of fact treatment nature, distinctly together grouped sequentially in intercampus, interarea, and worse than interstate. This is fluent through our nations because it's fluent through fact treatment styles. We are a fact treatment nature, a clear body of value. This is why the Quran has to, is saying, in other words, there's a nature of criminal insidiousness. See, when they say against the ruling parties, they're not trying to interpret Islam honestly. They're not trying to remove what is not true always. They're not trying to just do a brief summary. So to explain the religions, you have to explain the nature of the criminal re-engineering of internation science. Because that's the criminal re-engineering of human fact treatment nature. That's also, to it, on a mass scale, multi-front, with what was way beyond that is sophistication. And then that only let predatory sophistication nature exploiting that. That's what's happening right now, inherently, actively, and progressively. It's recorded. And they're recorded aware of it. Exploiting poverty. Exploiting interbranch evidence rackets. Exploiting rackets covering it up. Exploiting they were the racket, the breaching method that only lets us realize as the needs of the natures personally misprision and top down. I'm not a lawyer. We need more coal. Santa needs more coal. And we need to read the Santa Claus to be loud read. Through correlation. Correlation's means. We're not loud. Science, and in its name, consciously. That's an organized crime racket right there. When you're doing that tied to inherent act, when you're simultaneously conscious of it hurting people. Anyone black or white who tries to point out that there's no science in the cities, there's always someone who has the same racket narratives and the same recorded criminal influences, no matter what color, preventing correlation from telling that truth. There's no science on this. There's no legal representation. Only predatory litigation nature, criminal insidiousness nature rolls with a suit and tie, speaking for the streets. For the suburbs, it's the same racket, consciously worse on the urban areas. Consciously not letting all colors demonstrated. Because everyone in these contexts, in other words, when we're going to see too, like what Harriet Beecher Stowe came up with the phrase, not alone. Her education was recorded criminally influenced. She's a recorded criminally influenced fact treatment nature, relationship to slavery in the North, in relationship to the fact treatment nature of slavery of our founders. See, this is a correlation nature that we have to describe this with against this organized crime, criminal insidiousness nature. Criminal insidiousness nature is a type of theater that's a lie, percussion, cover-up nature. And tools, multi-fronts, knave fact treatment nature. So, please, the networks, take a police report, because they also prevent police reports by faking both sides of stories, faking medical information about kids. They're recorded hurting kids with doctors tied to courts with their drug clicks. Pretending they're recorded, each of our branches, pretending morality in relationship to all the drug treatment things. All the problem. In other words, the patients too are dishonest. They're recorded and involved with the rackets, with their doctors, and with the police forms, and with the military investigators and stuff like that. All racket natures together, cultivated this way because they grew up with evidence crime rolls, recorded, database crime rolls, recorded to correlation, but they're pretending others recorded in databases. So that's the recorded proofs of that are the recorded proofs to correlation. See, in other words, they're trying to make everything like they don't understand everyone. They understand. Ratiocination, correlation's active means. It was not his not let voice. It's unjustifiable. What they call a value nature system with integrity, or even capable of speaking for morality by that. Only comparison nature. They need to keep it that way too. Pretending not to realize stupid. What's his name? Alec Baldwin. When he saw the way he says about his investments with the arts and philanthropy. Quote, all we need is to understand what people stacked to exploit it, to pretend not to realize it. You don't put people in those contexts in New York City, and this was set up before our founders were born. The pathology, the fact-cheating nature, slavery tied to recorded database crimes before there was computers, and relationships to them, in relationship to the cultivation, engineering of a nature of theater called criminal insidiousness nature as live progression cover-up styles, inherently actively and progressively. The same network of Baldwin with the what is the name of that? The comedian, Saturday Night Live, recorded making up medical information with abuses of kids. Recorded not letting reported reality. Them with roles recording pretending other was recorded, faking both sides of the news to prevent their mandated obligations, reliant upon investigators of theirs and interbranch ones recorded, directing them to do it. They're still the nature is just doing it. There's nowhere to let's like, let's make a police report. Criminally, they're hiding their roles with the demonetization and the manipulation of the time and the values of all markets, potential and existing. For example, with treatments of what is advertiser friendly on YouTube, what is how each of these online platforms make fact treatments, use correlation, understand the algorithm, which is by ratiocination. You have one term for when you're right and one term that you're correlating in the conversation about what is only right but is only discernible when it's causing negative value nature progressions, a clear body of value. What revealed Islam and Christianity was not so they could have so fake sides could say they have prophets. What revealed them was multi-front counters to what engineered internation sciences with a method that tactically degraded the education and memories of all nations, progressively, key areas, ports, and things like that, with these rackets, not realizing the course that's shared. They're in demonstration of you read the books with subject, stay on the subject. You say only what is using truth, what is it saying always. In other words, evolution there's proofs of it. And God is a correlation, because we're right or wrong about that. But we know that science demonstrates there's an identity of space beyond God. That was when we were right about the concept of God, whatever extent we're right. Trying to be right about that causes positive value nature progressions, causes evolution. This is what the beginning of the Old Testament's about. When it was telling all you have to do is try. You don't have to compare. Don't compare to each other. Who's getting more or what? Just try, and evolution will come for everybody. But they don't try that. And in other words, this is the difference between correlation nature and comparison nature, as fact treatment nature. One is negative. One causes negative value nature progressions. Not as negative onto positive. There's a difference between positive and negative. Are two natures where and how the identity that is beyond space's temporary nature is a relationship to that, only to a semi-relationship to it, because its complete nature is beyond here. But per that semi-relationship, also simultaneously inherent to that, positive and negative value nature, as space's identity, as the value of immediate space nature, left to right. We'll see this with value G, because English is revealed to teach this. Alpha-bodied consciousness diffuses energy, freeing God. And Zulu's value, why? We'll understand it. And if the value is not, if that, I mean not Zulu, Zenith's value, why? Zenith's value, why? If the V is not there with the as the value Y's value coming from left to right, because it's coming to right to left anyways, the bottom of the Z is a reflection of how length of IDs is formed, is forced. Because only the semi-relationship of itself is inherent to, and that is the identity of negative value nature and of positive value nature together. And this is a course about correlation, about fact treatment nature. See, everyone's keeping the controversial parts of the Quran justified. I mean, needed too, because fake sides, and fake counter sides. People aren't really believing that they need to counter white power and or the opposite, whatever people pretend that they're countering. Honestly, they're just defending lie, progression, cover-up styles. This is recorded. They're just defending evidence sequence shifting styles. Recorded. They're just pretending that opinions are science. That science drives opinion. Science is coordination nature. That's why we have the unchanging variable, Allah. Allah is an unchanging variable as the name for science. This is before the Quran. Before the criminal re-engineering of internation sciences. For the tactical criminal engineering of justification nature in relationships to sick markets positions, sick value nature systems. That's what the president is saying right now. And no one's letting him say that because they're worried about garbage. They're worried about themselves. They're already taken care of. They're going to talk about the arts. They're going to stand for the cities. They're not going to stand for nothing. They're not going to stand for nothing. We're going to use correlation. There's no legal representation for our urban areas, for our suburban areas. For the same rackets, database rackets, evidence rackets, recorded tied to and as conscious criminal uses of the candlelight vigils and of sick narrative justifications of what they call bases, Democrat and Republic breached. They're forcing this on they're forcing playing those games is not really worried about they're going to be a war or something like that. They wouldn't be playing those games when they're trying to then defending that and letting real care about trying to stop a war, because the whole species doesn't want the broken value nature system. So we're going to do that. We're going to break it, and because these people are sick. These people are sick. This is how we got driven into World War I. Fake sides. And this is recorded, and it's not told. Our founders forced agreements as common victim enemies, not to what Germany was a victim of too, to what the Jews were a victim of too. See, but this is a game that made that game. This is a game that made that game. This is made the Pharaoh a victim too. There are proofs that they took down a mountain, tactically denatured earth. The desert is a manifestation of ill humanity breaking the value nature of earth, length of hadiths, spin off, bring the value of media space nature overall here in progression outlet. So pushed away from here as progression, because we will only stay progressively. Only a semi-nature of Allah is capable of being in the semi-nature of temporary space nature. This is a forever nature that forged matter together, that is in diffusion through it, in demonstration to us. Religion train who trial tribes. Truth is a sequence, nature, native voice, and soul. Until we speak for them, they're right. Behold, each suit and tie. Each negative value nature is in demonstration of this. So we have a negative value nature system. What is positive value nature to it is ulterior from what is positive value nature to what really causes positive value nature progressions. How long we don't have science demonstrate correlation, sabotage, in our face recorded, live progression, cover-up nature, sequence shifting natures, pretending about black, they don't understand, pretending they don't understand the trick fact, GB nature, that the organized crime racket, that put that in there, those trick fact, GB natures, and the theaters built with it, criminal insidious, I'm not even a lawyer. So it's recorded. Recorded, you see, because truths tell lies. I mean, lies tell truths. And see, the base debatable lies, though, they're only looking at things that are debatable, not true always. So when you do that, you see this way. See, correlation has no voice. These are not means. You don't stack people like that and pretend there's nothing. You don't look at space and go like that. Or this course, admitting this, looking at identities, the identity trapped in these negative fact cheating nature traps. That's the one that brings it out of it. What admits, what doesn't play these games. Suit and tie never had, they know it never had integrity, but they didn't want to speak anyways.